man stood on the windowsill and started throwing a large amount of cash down. He intentionally caused a commotion among the crowd below, but he wasn't doing this because he had a problem with money. Instead, he was trying to cover for his brother. His brother was robbing a building across the street. At this moment, everyone's attention was focused on Nick. Meanwhile, his brother on the opposite rooftop quickly took action. They first formed a circular fuse line with the bomb's wire. Then they used steel plates as a base. A small hole was drilled in the center, and they placed the bomb inside. Finally, they covered it with a mattress. Once everything was ready, it was Nick's turn to perform. Nick stood at the edge of the high-rise, looking as though he was about to jump. Everyone thought Nick was going to jump off the building, so they rushed over to try to talk him out of it. What no one knew was that Nick was actually trying to use the screams from below to cover up the explosion on the opposite building. Just as Nick had predicted, the crowd downstairs had no idea that an explosion had just occurred across the street. Meanwhile, his brother had successfully entered the diamond. Building through the hole blasted in the wall, he bent the air vent and crawled through. Then he entered the admin password to get the elevator to the top floor. Next, they used a rope to sneak into the floor where the diamond vault was located. They were now going to access the vault through the security cameras, but they were fully prepared. Using fabric that matched the floor color, they successfully avoided the cameras. Once they reached the camera blind spot, the brother took out a camera and snapped pictures of the camera view. After printing the photos, he pasted them over the monitors, creating the illusion that everything was safe in the vault. Thus, the two of them easily made it to the vault door. However, just as they were about to enter through the ventilation shaft, a police officer suddenly discovered Nick's identity. It turned out that Nick was the cop, who had been arrested a few years ago for stealing diamonds, and the hotel where he was staying was owned by the person who had lost the diamonds. The police officer realized that Nick was likely trying to steal the diamonds again, so the police chief immediately notified the security captain of the diamond building. They rushed back to the building to check the vault. Seeing that their mission was about to be exposed, the brother quickly replaced the vent cover. Meanwhile, Nick, in an effort to cover his brother's escape, came up with a brilliant plan.